Evening. We're just going to wait a few minutes before we get started so people can log on. It's good to see you. Okay. And I'm not very techy, but there's a chat on here. So if anyone has any questions, you can ask a question and I will definitely try to remember to look at it before I log off, before I let you go. Awesome. I see that swinging ball up there on somebody's window. I love having things hanging. And it was one of the things that I used to do to practice some of my work. And I would do wind chimes in the house because if spirit comes, they'll move it and make a sound. And there's like little fairy bells that I make that will do the same. You can put it in the window. The other thing I like is just something that hangs like a pendulum. And what we would do is we would practice with our wands and we would practice directing our energy and getting it to move. And once we were able to connect with it, we were able to use it like a pendulum. So kind of a fun little thing I used to do. Okay, so we'll get started pretty quick here. Yeah, this Zoom stuff is new to a lot of people. I don't know really how it works. Okay, welcome. So if you have a pendulum with you tonight, that's what we're going to be talking about. If you don't have a pendulum, you can use a necklace or a ring on a string. Share with you some of the things that I use it for. So if you do have a pendulum, grab it, have it holding in your left hand, okay? And while we talk about it, you just want to charge it up, okay? And I'm going to go over some information with you. And some of the charts that you're going to receive, I'm also going to discuss a little bit as well, okay? So I was talking earlier about something that Albert Einstein said, and this is what he said. I know very well that many scientists consider dowsing as a type of ancient superstition. According to my conviction, this is, however, unjustified. The dowsing rod is a simple instrument which shows the reaction of the human nervous system to certain factors which are unknown to us at this time. And so one thing I want to teach you is how you can communicate with yourself and how you can communicate with spirit. So I've been working with dowsing rods, but we're going to go into pendulums. So I've been working with pendulums for quite a while and I love them. So I want to share some of the things that I've learned from them. And I also want to show you how to do readings for yourself and others. But first, we need to learn how to communicate with these pendulums and understand them a little bit, okay? And hopefully all of you have had an experience with the pendulum. Maybe you've had a reading done by someone with the pendulum, or maybe you grabbed one and you started doing readings. But it is a communication method and it can be super powerful. One of the things that the pendulums do is they connect to the energy, but they also absorb a lot of energy. And that's why they're made with stones. And that's so that they can communicate, but you can still cleanse them. So we're also going to get into cleansing the pendulums and keeping them charged up. So some people say you should never choose a pendulum, just like they say you should never choose your tarot card. It should be given to you. I think that's crap. I think you should pick what you're drawn to. I mean, if that's what you believe, that's fine. I don't want to ever say that it's wrong, but for me personally, I have a collection, and it's because I'm drawn to the stones. So I have a crystal one, and we're going to talk about the different stones and stuff too. And I use this quite a bit for my readings. The other one that I love is this one. It's a wooden chamber one. So I put my grandmother's graveyard dirt in here. And so when I want to communicate with her, I use this pendulum. So some pendulums, if you have more than one, that's okay, because they will all have a different energy and they all connect to something different. And you'll find that. But what I find is that when you want to start using your pendulum, I find that holding them with the left hand first, waiting for that vibration to go into your hand where you feel that heartbeat, means that you now are connected to your pendulum. It means that your spirit is connected to the spirit that's going to communicate with you. When you pick out any stones, when you touch any tree, you always want to feel it with your left hand, because this portal of power is receiving. It goes right inside of you. It's part of your chi. And when you feel the vibration, that means that you are receiving the medicine. And when we use and you're going to find that most of us are right-handed, and you're gonna find that you're going to be using the pendulum with your right hand. So when you connect with the medicine first, and then you start to work with it with your right hand, all of the intentions and all of the guidance that you're receiving from that point is coming through. This is the hand where a flow comes in. You can communicate with spirit with your right hand. This will act as an ear. Your left hand, this PowerPoint will act as an ear. I can go into a room and I can go like that and hear. So you do want to play with the energies of your hands, and you have to realize that these energies in your hands are what is giving this power. You become a channel. Of course, energies will come through, right, from in front of you or beside you or even through you sometimes. Hopefully not too often, but they can be influenced by other things. But what you need to do is learn what is you and what is spirit. So take your pendulum right now. And when I work with the pendulum, I always wrap it around my finger. So I wrap it around my pointer finger. These two fingers to me are very powerful. So I wrap it around twice. And that way I can do whatever I want and I don't have to worry about holding it. And I feel like I'm influencing it less. So hold it in your hand, and I want you to think about your yes and no. Now, so many books will tell you to that yes, to let the pendulum tell you what is yes or no. But when you're communicating with the universe, it's very important that you make it clear how you want the answers to come. You're the one in the control. You're the one in the channel. And you don't know who you're communicating with yet. So when you say, I want you to show me that yes is back and forth, show me yes. And you just keep thinking, yes, yes, yes. And you do that until it starts to swing. Then you wait for it to get strong. And then I'll say, show me no, circle for no. No, no, no. And so when you're using the pendulum and you're thinking no, and it starts going no, you can see how much control you actually have, right? And so if I say, show me yes, go back to no, and ask for it to circle around, you'll be able to see how quickly you can get it to respond. So you always want to choose what is yes and what is no. Okay. The other thing is that when it comes to communicating with spirit in the spirit world, there's a universal rule. Spirits cannot lie if you ask them a question 3 times. So until you can definitely rest your elbow. Lots of people like to rest their elbow on the table. I did that all the time to make sure it was stable. But you don't have to worry about a little bit of shakiness, okay? Like watch, when I go shaking, whoops, you don't want to fall. When I go shaking, okay, there I am shaking it. It's gonna eventually go in the flow of what it wants. So now it's starting to go to its back and forth. So you don't have to worry about it shaking. And that's one thing you have to get past because you want to trust it. Now, pendulums are something that do absorb a lot of spirit energy. So you want to make sure that you keep it strong, but also purified. And one thing that I do is I keep my pendulum in a bowl of salt. I also have a little selenite bowl that I'll keep another pendulum in. So you want to keep them in a place by a crystal, or some people will even keep their pendulum in their plant, like right in a plant. So it's always grounded and with that energy. So keep your pendulum in a place that will give it power. So once you know you have control of the pendulum, you know that it's obedient and it's strong and it will work with you. Sometimes you'll pick up the pendulum to work with it and it won't move. Or if you ask a question and it doesn't move, you're not meant to know. So put it away, okay? The other thing that's awesome about pendulums is they can help you find things. So my first store, I have to tell you this, was like, we opened it in 2000, I think, 1998, and then 2000 is where it was kind of booming. And I sold pendulums. Well, this lady came in and she bought a pendulum for her, she was a nurse. So she was caretaking for this older gentleman, but they were also a thing. It was fun. Either way, so she buys a pendulum for him because he likes to go out and he's an old miner. So they bought it, she bought the pendulum. They went up by Squamish. And he just carried his pendulum in your pocket. Pendulums don't really like to be in a bag. It's okay if you keep them there, but if you're actually carrying it on you to use it, keep it outside of a bag. And the reason why is because when you have it in your pocket and you're wearing it, you will feel it move. It will shake or it will rattle, and it will get your attention when it wants to come out. So this gentleman is walking and he feels it move in his pocket. So he pulls it out of his pants and it just starts spinning, and it's spinning like crazy. And he staked a claim into that land. Later on, he ended up finding the largest platinum gold mine ever in BC and made millions. And the government told him that when he received this money, the deal was that he had to give them the pendulum. So he did, part of the deal. So the government got the pendulum during this deal. So the woman comes into the store to buy a second pendulum and tells us the story and says that he made something like $14 million or something. I was like, where is my tip? Thank you. You know, like if that was me, if I bought a pendulum from a store and got 14 million, I'd go back there and tip them well. But that's just me, I guess. So I was a little disappointed in that. But the pendulum will move. I ask you, Take your pendulum for a walk at the water. Go for a walk in the woods. Don't have it in a bag. Have it in your pocket and just see where it gets your attention and pull it out. And a lot of times where you stand, yeah, maybe there's water there or gold, but you're probably going to be pulled to stop there to experience something. Maybe it's wildlife or the leaves are going. So the pendulum is definitely a portal of power into the spirit world. And we can use it. It's just as powerful as any other divination tool. Okay, so I want to teach you how to connect with them. So hold your pendulum once you know you've gotten your yes and no's. You can cleanse your pendulum in so many different ways. Sunlight is good. Moonlight is good. They're the easiest way to cleanse. Just have them sitting in your windowsill and that will work fine. Okay. Some stones, so such as amethyst, could fade. And if you have a crystal pendulum, you'll find that as you use it, it will get cloudy. If it gets cloudy, that is spirit energy that's gone in. So you need to cleanse it. And when crystals go cloudy, you cleanse it by the moon. And then the next day, it'll be nice and clear again. Okay. And I talked about the sea salt. If you use it in sea salt, you have to have it there for a minimum of 8 hours. And it will boost its energy. And after I put it in the sea salt, I like to put it in either the sun or the moon, depending on when I'm using it. A lot of people will use their Reiki energy. So like I said, hold it in your left hand. And if you take time to do that every once in a while, I like to hold it like this in front of my heart. And I put my energy or my Reiki energy into it. And that is going to bring it cleansing light. The other thing that I find that is really important to keep it connected to you is if you go just below your heart center and you hold it where you're comfortable and it's kind of just above your navel and a foot out. And if you hold it there and just see if the pendulum goes back and forth or in a circle, is that circle clockwise or is that circle counterclockwise? There is an energy there that shamans will use. And that energy is known to be a very sacred portal of power. And a lot of times when we need to recharge ourselves or when we need to cleanse, we will go like this, down here just above our navel. And we go into a clockwise position and we'll do this. And what that does is it brings us our power, a healing power, and it opens our channel. And so if you put your pendulum just about a foot away in front of your heart, but below, like your hands at your heart, and wherever it hangs from there and let it go, this is very healing for your body. And it will actually heighten your auric bodies. We have 12 of them. And it will bring healing power. And if it is clockwise and it goes nice and strong, then you know you're in a good position. If it goes counterclockwise, then you have releasing energy. Now what happens is if you do that above a customer, say you're doing a healing, and you can run the pendulum across their body and hold it above each chakra, you'll be able to see if that chakra is open, if it's releasing, or if it's completely stuck. So if I get to a customer and they say, you know, I kind of feel out of whack, I'll check their chakras with my pendulum and you'll be able to see how it responds. Now in the charts, I have pendulum charts that are going to be emailed to you. You can print these out. One of them is going to teach you is going to teach you how to identify your guide. And I love this chart. So I'm going to send you 13 different charts, and you can use each one of these charts for information and see what you get. Use it for yourself. If you use all of these charts in a session, you could get some pretty incredible readings out of it. Okay. So before you use any charts, you want to hold it and connect. And then if you are doing readings for someone else, you want to think of them, or you speak their name 3 times. Whenever I do readings with anyone, I always have them say their name 3 times, and it just gives me that power. I know I'm connected to to the spirit around them. So one of the charts is going to be identifying your spirit guide, or your guide, or who's around you. And there's many different ones. And there's also another chart that will represent people in your life. So say you want to get guidance, these people could be people in spirit or people who are alive, but they're going to be the strongest influence in your life. Okay. You're also going to receive a chart that is a basic yes or no, maybe. So when we ask questions, the yes and no, if it doesn't move, you're not meant to know the answer. And if I don't know the answer, then I'm like, darn it. And of course I want to know it. So I'll ask the next day. Maybe my energy wasn't in the right place to receive that guidance. So you can ask, just because it doesn't work one way doesn't mean the other. The other thing that I like to use my pendulum on is my money. And to me, I don't find that I have, I believe in the universal flow of finances. I believe that when we honor our gifts, the universe brings us the people we're meant to meet and the ideas that we're meant to act on. So there is a money chart that I put together for you. And this money chart you can use to find out how your money is being influenced, the path, and if there's what you should do. There's even buy something for yourself on it. I love that one when I get it. It's like, yes. You'll have a chakra chart, and that chakra chart you can use for yourself and others as well. And it will let you know what chakra you need to work on. So if you just place your pendulum on the black circles, that's where you start on them all. You'll find out what chakra needs to be focused upon and why. And then the next one is a chakra healing chart. So it's going to tell you what you need to do. So I urge you to try those. Now, the one thing that I love, and this is something that I do in my readings. So when I do face-to-face readings, and if it's a younger person, I always like to see what kind of kids they're going to have, if they're going to have any. So I always predict people's children. And sometimes the parents are like, oh my God, don't tell my 20-year-old she's going to have 4. But I like to do childbirth predictions. So I put the chart on there. But I want you to try this on yourself now. Okay, because some of you are parents, some of you are not yet, and some of you are maybe grandparents. But what I want you to do is get your pendulum with your right hand, and you do this, you can do this to a male or a female. Doesn't matter if it's a he or she. And you use your left hand. You want your left hand to be placed on the table in front of you, flat with the fingers open. You don't want to be like strenuous where your fingers are like, ouch. Let it just be open. And when you have it placed, you want to start on the left side of the palm at the wrist, and you want to drag your pendulum all the way around. And you want it to touch the hand, go in between each finger like this. Let it touch. It doesn't have to touch all the way if it skips. All the way around, go to the wrist, and then go to the center of the hand and wait to see. Back and forth is a boy and a circle is a girl. So I have boy. So now I'm going to do it again and see if a second child is going to come. So you go all the way around again. And you do this until you get nothing, where it's completely stopped. So try it and see if you can get that. Did it work? And if it works for you, say yes or put it in there. So you can do that to anyone. You can, I've done it like sitting at a coffee shop, talking to my friends and being like, hey, let's see how many kids you're going to have. Or you'll guess it. You can find out. It's really awesome. And it's super fun when they're pregnant. Right? Because then I'm like, this is what I get. And then I start the, you know, the square. Everybody gets to bet, is it a boy or a girl? And I'm always right. Pretty interesting, but you have to use the left hand. Okay? But that is something that you can implement in your readings, right? The other thing is I have used the same thing to connect to people's children who are crossed over, okay? And it's one way where I know I can pinpoint a connection. So if I need to communicate with a client's loved one, their child that's passed, I can do the same thing as the mother is thinking of them or saying their name. And then if it shows up, there's the girl that I wanted to call. Is it a girl? And she says yes. Then I know I have a connection and I can go on to doing other readings. Okay, so we can call children that way with the left hand. Now, if you want to call anyone that isn't a child of the mother, you have to call them 3 times. You have to hold the pendulum, call their name 3 times or visualize them, and then start to communicate. Usually, when I call someone's spirit, I will ask them a specific question that only the person that I'm reading would know. Because the thing is that when it comes to divination, whether it's tarot cards, pendulums, or the Ouija board, they all work the same way. Okay, they're all portals of power into the universe. Okay, if we're positive people, we get positive influences. If we're negative, we're going to attract negative things, right? So always call the name 3 times. Now, one of the things that you want to do is you want to think about someone that you love. If you have a grandmother or a sister or a friend on the other side, you want to practice calling them and communicating with them because you want to create a steady link. See, when I go to my pendulum, I know automatically I can connect to someone on the other side. I can tell the pendulum tells me they're here. Okay. So I'm going to move on a little bit so that we can do a little more decoding with the pendulum. Okay. So back and forth, I like to use as yes, and circle I like to do as no. Okay. The other thing is when you work with the pendulum, you have to imagine yourself like all of a sudden, all of your psychic powers are turning on, because they will. When you start to work with the pendulum, you might start getting ideas popping in. Maybe you have someone from childhood that pops into your mind. That name of that person is probably the name of the spirit that's there. So pay attention to your psychic senses. When we work with the pendulum, the atmosphere in the room will change. All of a sudden, you'll get cold. And if you get cold while you're working with the pendulum, that's a female spirit. And all of a sudden, if you get really hot and it starts to get hot in the room, you know it's a male spirit. So those work and come. That automatically happens. But you have to remember, some spirit doesn't have a gender. So on the charts that I gave you a chart so that you can ask whether that spirit is male, female, someone you know. Clockwise is always power. So if your pendulum is going clockwise, it's trying to gain more power. It's also a positive energy. If the pendulum goes counterclockwise, then it's a negative energy. That means that there is a releasing that needs to take place or is taking place. Now, I love going into houses with pendulums. And I know I can see someone already smiling, but we would go into haunted houses with our pendulums and see how they react. And I have a witness here tonight that was with me on one of the creepiest houses we ever went to. And it was in BC. Is that Silverdale? Is that what it's called out there? So there's this old house and it's abandoned, right? And we're like, oh my God, that's so creepy. Let's do like a class and go there. So we went there, we took our pendulums. This house was old. And when we walked in, we could be standing straight. You move 5 feet and you're actually standing at an angle. And when you're holding the pendulum is going in the opposite angle that you're standing. We have pictures, we have video, we have audio. It was crazy. So spirit will pull the pendulum. So one thing you want to do is when you are communicating with spirit, you want to see if you can feel that pull. You will get a pull with spirit. And I'm going to show you that tonight. Okay, because we're going to play with that.
Did you say that counterclockwise, it's a good spirit?
It's usually negative. There's negativity around.
Counterclockwise is negative spirit. And clockwise is positive?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you walk into a room and someone says, oh, my house feels negative, I don't know, I think it might be haunted, and you walk in and it starts going counterclockwise, then there is a negative imprint in that house. It could be the mentality of someone there, because our mentalities will act like spirit energy. So it could be either a negative spirit or a negative habit that's in someone. Either way, it would need cleansing. So you cleanse the house, it will affect the negative outcome. But when it comes to negative energy, it's always, whether it's a ghost, a spirit, a demon, it's always got to do with a mentality, because that's what creates them, the negative spirits. Okay. So yeah, walk around your house. You can find things that are lost with them. So if I lose my keys, which happens a lot, I'll start at my front door and I'll stand in the room and see if it's telling me to go into a different direction. So if the pendulum tells me to go straight, I'll go straight. If the pendulum starts to turn to the left, I go that way. And I'll actually follow the directions that way, and it will lead you to a lost object. And that's something that I used to do with my son quite a bit. I get him to hide something on me so I could practice finding it with my pendulum. And it's pretty awesome. You can also go for a sacred drive with spirit. And I would actually hang a pendulum in my rear view mirror. And I would ask spirit, take me where I need to go. You know those days where you just want to get out, but yet you don't know what to do? Put a pendulum, let it hang in the rear, trying to get you to go to Maine. You probably want to ask it 3 times. Are you sure? Nice. So someone said, okay, it showed boy twice, but when it went crazy, when I did a 3rd time, so maybe that's undecided. That means you have a choice. as well. So you'll have a chart that will talk about that. So make sure, show me yes. If you don't get an answer, you're not meant to. Test it. I like to test when I communicate with spirit. So when I started communicating with the pendulum in spirit, I was a little nervous at first. And once you know that you have control, you did the yes, it went yes. You did the no, it went no. Now you ask a question and you don't look. Don't look at your pendulum until you feel it swinging. And then look. I did that at first because I found it difficult to not think yes or no. Okay. So I would just like hold the pendulum and I would just like ask the question over in my mind until I felt movement. And then I would look at the answer. And I found it worked for me. And I would use it for things. So I used mine. I'm a gambler. And I am a gambler. So I would use mine. Should I go gambling? Am I going to win some money? And if it said yes, I would follow it. And it worked. If it said no, I wouldn't go. So pick something and ask it questions. Should I go to this? You know, should I do this? And start a communication, start a friendship with your pendulum. I connected with my first pendulum so much that when I lost it, I actually felt like I lost my best friend. I cried. Okay, so they become special to us, especially when you're communicating with your grandmother or you're communicating with, you know, Fred. Every time you experience spirit, you're going to bond. The other thing is you don't have to worry about dark energies taking possession of your pendulum. It won't happen. Okay. It will show you that there's negative energies. If I walk into a place or someone comes to me and is going backwards, as soon as I see it going counterclockwise, I say, show me where you are. And the pendulum will point in the direction of where the spirit is. And then I usually, if it's negative, I always light a smudge, but mainly I use mugwort. And mugwort makes negative spirits sick. And you've heard of the term ashes to ashes. Well, when we burn burn mugwort, anything negative falls to the ground. That's where ashes to ashes comes in. And then we would sweep it up. And if you light mugwort while you're using your pendulum and the mugwort and the smoke is moving, that's the movement of spirit. So you actually want to wait until all of the smoke stops moving. So when I light up my smudge or my herbs, and I'm going to talk about some psychic stuff that you can use, I always watch where the smoke goes. What direction is it flowing? It tells me so much. That's awesome. So you had an experience. That's awesome. So let's go on to one thing that I want you to say. So grab your pendulums and we're going to bless them right now. So hold them in your hands in front of your heart. We infuse our pendulums with light, the power to protect me and my sight. My household is always free from unwanted spirits. May my guides bless and protect me. So mote it be. So if you have a stone pendulum, that is going to stay in there, that prayer. Okay. Now, if you wish to communicate with someone who has already passed on, remember, all you have to do is hold on to the pendulum and call that person 3 times. After I call that person, so if I say, John, 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 and I think of them, I will feel something. Okay, so you might get goosebumps, you might get shivers. That means they're touching you. But you might feel a change in the air, or you might hear a yes. Every time we use our pendulums, our psychic abilities will get stronger. Even if it's just asking one question a day, you will become more connected. So once I've called them, I'll hold the pendulum over my left hand above my portal of power, and I'll say, are you here? Show me you're here. And I wait until I get my yes. You'll get a yes when the spirit comes. This is showing me a no right now and a yes. The other thing you want to do first is ask how many spirits are here. Okay? So when we use the pendulum, most of us have more than one spirit around us. They're always waiting to give us guidance. They're always waiting to bless us. So I like to ask, is there one spirit here or two? One spirit? Okay, is there two spirits? And see how it's saying yes? I'm going to wait until it circles. Is there three spirits here? Is there four spirits here? Is there five? So I have four spirits. See how it changed? So right now, how many spirits are around you? Hold them in your right, put it in your palm of your hand, and just mentally, you don't have to speak out loud. Is there one spirit here? Is there two spirits here? Wait until you get it into a circle. Is there three spirits here? Is there four? Is there five? So what did you get? There's no spirit here. I don't want one. Just kidding.
There's more than I need.
I know. I don't want to creep you out all here.
Yeah, I already knew it was a portal here.
I'm not surprised. Okay, so you can use that pendulum. That's how I find out how many spirits are around. And then I can ask, okay, to the first spirit. Spirit number one, just call them, you know those shirts, thing one, thing two? Well, spirit one, are you male or female? Back and forth is always male, right? Think about the penis. It's always back and forth, right? Circle is a circle is a female. So that's what you want to ask. Are you male or female? And then are you family or not? So you can ask communication with the spirit and you'll receive more. Now, when you're doing that and you're thinking of family, you want to pay attention to how the pendulum feels, because that's where you're going to get the pull I'm talking about, where all of a sudden it's like pulling and you're like, oh my gosh, like it's really going. You're not doing it. Okay.
When I asked about the spirits, it was like wanting to do a real big party. It was
nice. Yeah. We can also call angels with these. So you can, what I like to do is I'll call my higher self. I'll just think of myself. And when I go inside and think of myself, it's like I pay attention to the back of my eyelids and I'll think of myself and then I'll start asking for my guidance. And as soon as I see a change of color in the back of my eyelids, I know I'm connected to my higher self. And that's one thing that you should try. Because if you're not into, a lot of people hate meditation, but it's really good for you. if you just take a few minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and you close your eyes and pay attention to the back of your eyelids in silence, you will see a frequency or a vibration or a color. That's your higher self. That is your connection. That's how you can say, okay, I'm in the channel. So a lot of people will use that, and you'll see if you ever went to a psychic show, before they start, everyone's in there and they're all sitting there and they usually just meditate and connect. And as soon as they see that change, they know they're in the zone. The other thing I want you to do to tell yourself you're in the zone is put your hands, hold the pendulum, and then put your hands in front of you. Maybe down, facing down. And if you look, you might see one hand is a different color than the other. Lower your hands a little more. So you kind of want to look like you're looking down on them. Okay? Like you're looking at a distance. And you may see a color change. Because when we get into the channel, one hand or arm might look lighter than the other. Okay? So that is a sign that you're in a channel as well. And with pendulum work, you can sometimes see that the pendulum hand is a little darker than the other one, which shows that the energy of the spirit is there. Okay. One thing that you can use is lists. So everyone's like, if you're psychic, why can't you win the lottery? Well, you could pick out the lottery numbers. If you had one of their, you can make lists, right? I used to go to bingo with my mom. And there's this game where you have to pick 7 numbers, just like the lottery. But they have this dabber sheet that has all of the B's, I's, N's, and you dab them, right? So I brought my pendulum once, and I was using it. I'm going up and down the B line. And if it circles around, I'd write it down. And I picked my 7 numbers. So I get to the bingo, right? It's the time. And I got 6 numbers. And I got the 7th number is some bonus number or something like that. And it was like $17,000, okay? But I got the 6 numbers. I only got $1,700. But I used the pendulum to pick out those numbers. So you can pick out your lottery numbers, your whatever with the pendulum, and it can work. I have not mastered the lottery, obviously, but you can make lists, okay? Say someone breaks your vase. You have 3 kids. They're all saying, I didn't do it. I've done this. I write down their names. 1, 2, 3, ask the pendulum, and I would have them sit in front of me, my nephews and my son, and I would write their names, and then I would sit there with the pendulum and say, who broke my vase? And I would let the pendulum answer that question. And boy, oh boy, the look on their face. I mean, it would just tell you enough. So you can use lists. Who's my soulmate? You know, maybe there's 2 guys, right? Which one should I go for? You can use the pendulums for anything. So you can make lists for them. Charts are the main findings. We talked about the finding objects. Now, the clearing of the chakras. So I kind of went into that a little bit. And this is something that you can do for yourself or others. But when you take the pendulum and say my hand is a body and you're scanning the body, now I'm at a chakra and it starts going counterclockwise. That chakra is losing power. That's where it can create sickness, it can create stress. So what I would do is I'd be like, oh my God, this needs power. So I'll hold my pendulum there. and I would focus on it healing. And I would wait until the pendulum goes into a clockwise position. You don't have to do a thing. When you're holding a power over it, that chakra is going to want to heal itself. It will connect to the power of the pendulum and automatically turn itself into a positive direction. Sometimes it takes a few minutes, but you'll see how fast it changes and you'll know how far along it is. Okay. For long distance readings, that's what these charts I'm sending you for are. So you're going to get the birth one we talked about. So you can predict how many children they're going to have, whether it's a boy and a girl. And if it doesn't move, they're not going to have kids. I also have a spirit animal guide chart. And this one I love to use. So this will have all of the different animal spirit guides so you can see what's around you and the people around you. I also have, and this one you'll probably not like, but you should use it most, is to identify your personal motivation. So what is your personal motivation in life right now? So once you get these, if you can print them out, do it, and do these readings like once a month and see what you get, okay? So this will let you know what you need to do to help yourself or what is involved with helping and healing yourself. Timeline charts are super important, so I put one on there. So sometimes we're like, when am I going to hit the jackpot? When am I going to meet someone new, right? There's a timeline chart that you'll have that will tell you the minute, the hour, the day, the week, and the month. So if someone says, when am I going to win the lottery? You can use that chart and predict what it says. Well, according to the spirit around you, they're saying that you have something very lucky happening, and then do the chart. You can also get birthdays out of the numbers. Of course, I have a decision chart for you. So use this one to make your next few decisions, right? If you got to go run somewhere, ask the spirit, should I go do grocery shopping today? And honor it. Just build a rapport with the spirits that are guiding you. And at first, you'll see the first chart is identifying the guiding spirit. So if you're going to do a reading for someone else or for yourself, hold the pendulum there. It'll let you know if you're communicating with your higher self, an animal guide, a light being, a spirit guide, and then there's an alphabet over it. So if you want to take it further, you can look for names. But there is a spirit board type of pendulum board that is in a chart that looks just like a Ouija board. So you can use that to get words, okay? And then I have the energy draining sources. That is something that I use all the time. Half the time we don't know what drains us. Unless we're in front of a specific person and they suck us dry by the time they're gone, we don't know what's draining our energy. So this chart is awesome because it's going to let you know what's draining your energy. Maybe it's your diet. Maybe there's a demon. Maybe it's a chakra imbalance. So it's really, really fun. This one will let you know. So whenever you feel weak, see what it is and then try it out. I also have a house environment one where you can look at each room of your house and it will also tell you what type of energy is in it. So it may be a house pet or that's influencing the energy, or it could be a negative one, or maybe it has to do with someone that came in your entrance. So it will pinpoint energies and what room what each room is happening in your house. So that's kind of a fun one because you can take that to people's houses and see what's there. Okay, So if you're going to a friend's house, try to take some of these pendulums. Take the spirit identity one, check out their animal spirit, and then take the house one, and you'll know, okay? You can also do chakra healings off of the chart. You'll be able to think of someone and do an actual healing on it. You can use the pendulum to balance our energies. And as I showed you that, you can also have them sitting in a chair and doing it that way as well. I like having them lay down because I like to get that scan. The other thing is when you know how earlier I told you to hold your pendulum in front of your heart and then watch what happens in that spiritual spot? That's our spirit power. And when we do that, some people will say it hurts. Okay. And if they are sensitive there, then that means that they need spiritual healing. That's the one thing that the old shaman, tribal healers will do. When you go to them, the first thing that they'll do is rattle you. And then what they'll do is smudge you. And then after they smudge you, they usually hold either a feather, or a lot of them use pendulums nowadays, and they go right where I said to do that, and they see what type of energy you hold, because that's your spirit portal. They believe that that's where we carry our spirit. And so they use that to heal. You can also heal headaches by doing that in the same spot. If someone is getting headaches and migraines, I always tell them, hold your pendulum right in front of your navel and watch it spin, and make it spin into a positive, and it will get rid of headaches or sore spots. So the most powerful place to use a pendulum is right above your belly button. 3 fingers up from your belly button. Okay. Now, I talked about how when we communicate with spirit, we have to ask them 3 times. That's a universal law of 3, and it exists in all worlds. Whenever we ask spirit, if you're communicating with spirit or someone else's spirit, I like to ask them 3 times the first few questions to make sure that I have a positive spirit. If it's a negative spirit, it can't lie. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It cannot lie if you ask it 3 times. But sometimes your pendulum can lie, right? And some people will be like, oh my God, my pendulum's not telling me the truth. If that happens, it means that your pendulum is overworked. And that may sound like, how does it get overworked? Well, it can, because every time a spirit touches this, every time we come into contact with a spirit, it imprints into the pendulum. So it can become overworked. And if you find that it's not giving you a truthful answer, or it's not listening to you when you tell it, show me yes. See, when I first pick up the pendulum, I'll say, okay, are you going to work for me today? And I wait until it says yes. And then I'll say, well, show me no. And I make sure that it does what I say. Otherwise, I won't use it. So if I find out that it's not listening to me, then I'm going to give it heck. I'm going to purify this thing. So your pendulum can get overworked. And when that happens, it won't be powerful enough. It'll either just sit there and do nothing. Okay. And if your pendulum isn't clear and you're like, I don't know if that's a yes or a no, hold it and then ask it again. Okay. Now, if your energy is low, if you're tired, if you're edgy or cranky, then your pendulum is not going to be accurate. You have to be in a neutral state or in a good state. Okay. And that's why I say, call the person 3 times. Even when you're doing your own readings, think about what you want and just repeat it 3 times, because it will heighten you and it will align you to the energy that you want. Okay? And you do want to make sure you're clear about your question, right? So if I want $5,000, I'm going to ask about, how do I get my $5,000? If you ask, show me my money, that's just a general question. If you say, how the hell do I get out of this one, right? Think about what you want to get out of. So you have to have some kind of clarity about what you want to know. I wanted to share with you something that I like to make. And these are pendulums that I would make for my clients. So can you see it? It's hard to see, but this one is not painted or anything, but it's an herbal pendulum. I have psychic herbs in there, and I used to make these. I would make these for people, and then I would give it to them. And it was something that I liked to do. I don't know why this is on there. The other thing that people have used, you know, these little coils you can put different stones in. People will use those as pendulums because they can switch the stones, right? And they can use the different stones for different guidance. But here's the recipe. This is like really hard. Let me show you how hard it is. Can you hear it? It's like super hard, okay? And you can color these, but I like to make them with some psychic herbs. So I'm going to talk to you a couple of things that I like to use for psychic herbs. I'll use these herbs as teas. I'll put them in my pendulums. So first, the pendulum base. And I want you to try to make this, because when you make your own pendulum and you put the herbs into it, they're awesome. They work super accurate, okay? So to make these, the recipe calls for 4 cups flour. You can use any flour, but I use all purpose. 1 cup salt. And 1.5 cups warm water. And you want to mix it up and form it. You can use molds. I like to make balls, so I make mine into little balls. Usually I add beads on the top and bottom, but I couldn't find any beads right now. But I like to put a bead on the bottom and bead on the top. You heat the oven at 325 degrees, and you have to cook it for about an hour. So the herbs that I like to use for these, I always like to use mugwort. But mugwort, because it's known as a mother herb, and it offers psychic protection. It also opens up our clairvoyance ability, so it helps us see psychically. Mugwort also helps ward off any type of negative energy. Okay. The other thing is do you know people that are always negative? It's like no matter what good you say, they'll just find something negative. Burn mugwort around them if you can. It will heal that. So it actually fights negative perception.
Where can you get mugwort?
A lot of health food stores have it. I sell it. Just kind of Google it. But it's pretty cool. You can drink it as a psychic tea too. And it's not very expensive. Okay. I'll put a link. I'll give you a link with my sheet with all of my charts so you can find it. Okay, so then let's talk about easy ones that you can find. Okay, chamomile. So chamomile, you can even buy as tea and open up the tea bag. Chamomile is really good for psychic energy because it allows you to relax and it helps you go into alpha state. So if I count from 10 to 1 backwards, it will automatically put me into another state of consciousness. And that state is known as alpha state. And when we do psychic work, it doesn't matter if we're feeling or getting it or hearing it, we go into an alpha state. So chamomile is great for purification and protection, and it cleanses psychic attacks. So if you ever feel like you're under pressure and you don't know why, that's usually a sign of a psychic attack. So drink chamomile, have a bath in it, or burn it as an incense. But I like to put it into my pendulum. It smells nice, and I put it in that one too. The reason why is because it attracts abundance. So when I want to, you can put the oil in the flower, definitely. So herb or oil works. But when I put it in to my pendulum, it connects me to the law of attraction because it heightens and it brings in the energy of attraction. Cinnamon is awesome to put in these. So they're gonna look like kind of a hard bun, I think. Let me see if I can get it close up to you. But they look like almost like a hard bun. You don't want to eat it. It's not edible. Okay. It's like a psychic tool. Okay. So see, I don't know if I can, but it looks like a little hard bun. And you can paint them. Okay. So cinnamon improves your psychic abilities and it increases our vibrational frequency. And it also helps with mental clarity. So when we put the cinnamon into this pendulum, then you know you don't have to worry about your mind influencing it and not getting the answers. Okay. It also helps us focus our intentions. And that's one of the reasons why we'll use cinnamon and magic and money magic. It helps us focus our intentions on what we want. Peppermint, yes?
Should you mix different kinds of scents or herbs?
Oh yeah, you can add them all. Traditionally, 3 are used. So I put a minimum of 3 in everything. It's just kind of a general rule. Peppermint awakens our psychic abilities. It gives us mental clarity, but it helps us with communication with spirits. So it allows our mind to become more clear. So peppermint is really good, especially if you ever feel like you're blocked psychically, put peppermint into your life. Okay. Rose, we have tons of wild rose in New Brunswick. So roses are awesome. They open up our heart, but they actually assist us in connecting with higher realm spirits. So like angels and our higher self. And that's one reason why we like to use rose, because it helps with those higher spirits. Rosemary will open your clairvoyance. So rosemary, as soon as you put rosemary in your food, it actually opens your third eye.
Oh, good to know.
Rosemary is amazing. It also gets rid of negative thoughts. So if anyone's in your house and they're all negative and moody, put some rosemary in their food. Seriously, my poor family. It's all for the good.
Can you have a list of these on the website?
Definitely. And you'll also get an audio copy of this too, okay? So I'll send you all a copy of this tonight, or it'll be tomorrow, but of tonight. Now, star anise, you can get like a bulk bin, you can get all over. And they actually have the shape of a star with seeds inside. Those are my favorite to put on this because you can push it right in and they'll stay there. And star anise has like a black licorice type of smell. But star anise is very magical when it comes to psychic because it increases our psychic visions But when it increases our psychic visions, it aligns us to the good fortune. So if you want to know about your fortune, I always burn star anise when I do my readings or my planning, my business planning. It's also used as an incense when you're doing any type of crystal gazing. Okay, so if you look inside of a quartz and you're doing divination work that way, it'll help. The other last one is time. So we all have time for time. Time is a great psychic herb, and it helps you to connect freely. It enhances our abilities to see nature spirits, specifically fairies, if you believe in them. I do. So if you want to see a fairy, burn some time, throw some in your fire in the summer, and look underneath the apple tree, and you'll definitely see something flying around there. These herbs that I spoke of, you can put into your pendulum, or you can drink them as a tea. You can also make psychic baths with them, okay? And you can burn them as an incense. A lot of times, I'll just put them in a pot of water and boil my whole house. I call it bombing my house. I love it. And so you can put those herbs into this. You can make these flat. Some people make them into hearts, right? And you just cook them for an hour and use them. And what you'll find is they're I love them. They're very potent. Yeah, I mix it all together, okay? And then I just pull it out. This one, I have so much stuff in it. It looks chunky, but if you don't have as much herbs and roots in here, they're going to be smoother. These you can paint, but I used to give these to my customer after they could use it as their pendulum. And then if I don't want them anymore, I just give it as an offering to the universe. Okay. Does anyone have any questions right now?
I saw someone asked about if the different types of stones matter.
Oh, yes, duh. Let's get into that. Okay, so the first thing is I wanted to just mention, when you're doing readings for other people, you just want to make sure that if it's long distance, you're thinking of their name over and over again in your left hand until you feel that vibration that I talked about, okay? If you're not feeling a vibration when you're thinking of the person you're doing a reading for, because most of us are going to be doing these readings online instead of in person, you'll want to make sure you can feel that pulse. If you don't feel a pulse, you're not connected enough, so just keep thinking until you get something, okay? So let's talk about the different stones. So amethyst, if you have an amethyst pendulum, you're going to be connecting to things like dreams, visions. They're going to be connecting to things that need to be focused upon. So amethyst pendulums give you readings mainly based on what you should be focusing on. And it will tap into what's motivating that person, okay? Whenever you use amethyst, it's always going to help with your psychic abilities, okay? And it will influence through the third eye and the crown chakra. So when you're working with your amethyst, you're automatically going to be connected to a channel. Now, if you have a green pendulum, a venturine, it does connect to the heart chakra, okay, because it is a heart chakra stone. But what it's going to connect to is decisions. So if you have a green pendulum, it's automatically going to try to bring guidance that has to do with their decision making. What should they be doing? The directions that they need to go into. If you use a bloodstone or any type of agate, okay? The agates are going to give you guidance based on clarity of thought and positive thinking. So they promote a healthy way to see the path, okay? So clarity of thought, good decisions. They also help with our spiritual growth and awareness, okay? Now, the thing about agate is it fights depression and emotional and spiritual blocks. So while you're doing readings for yourself and others, that is an automatic energy. So say you do a reading and your agate pendulum is going backwards, right? It's relieving, it's trying to fight that depression, that emotional spiritual block, okay? So if the agate goes backwards, that's what it's fighting. So again, I want to hold it in until I see it going into the positive direction and building the balance and the spiritual growth and awareness they need, okay? I guess I should talk about that with the amethyst too. It's going to relieve. So if you're using amethyst, it's automatically going to relieve any type of mental stimuli. So it wants to relieve addictions, headaches, problems that stop people from getting their visions. So it will open up their crown chakra automatically. Citrine is awesome because citrine cannot take negative energy on. So whenever you use a citrine pendulum, you can trust it 100%. But when you are using it, it's automatically going to trigger any type of healing when it comes to negative thinking, okay? Or any type of blocks with our crown chakra, our sacral, or our solar. But what citrine does is it guides us towards life that brings us joy and prosperity. Remember, citrine is a merchant stone. So when we use that in our readings, it's focusing on the joy and prosperity and success of the person it's reading. Quartz crystal is an all general. So I can use my quartz crystal and tell it what I want it to tell me. So quartz crystal, give it direction. Okay, I need to know what who's communicating with my client. Okay, but when we're actually using the clear quartz crystal for divination, and if we've used it for over 20 minutes, you'll find that your physical pain has been released. So it automatically will release any type of physical pain. And it also breaks spiritual and emotional blocks. And that's one of the reasons why it's one of the most popular pendulums there is, because it releases any type of blocks. You cannot have a block when you work with a clear quartz pendulum. Okay. Onyx is one that will guide towards good fortune, but in a way where it brings you self-control and relaxation. So onyx will read what you want. Onyx is a listener stone. So if you have an onyx pendulum, just make sure that when you're thinking yes, just know it's going to happen right away. And actually lawyers, good lawyers, usually have a black onyx stone because it makes people see things their way. So onyx is a good one if you want to do, pendulum work and you're like, hey, hubby, let's look at the map and see where we should buy our house. And you know where the house is that you want. That pendulum will be circling around what you want. Okay. So it does hold suggestion, but it will guide towards good fortune for relaxation by self-control. Okay. Rose quartz is an awesome one because rose quartz connects to the physical heart and what it wants. So when we use rose quartz for pendulums, it's focusing on what's inside. It wants to give you guidance in regards to your own self-love, your self-trust. So it wants you to walk into that direction. I mean, you can, if you look up any stone that you have, or if you have one that is in here that I haven't spoken of and you're curious about, put it in the chat. But the stones all will guide a specific energy, okay? And it's the power and vibration, right? That it matches.
I have a green fluorite.
Fluorite is awesome. Okay, so fluorite stone for guidance. I'm just trying to think of what that is. Is it a rainbow fluorite with the green and the purple?
No, just green.
Okay, so green fluorite. Let me see if I have it on my list here. Oh, so green fluorite, I love that because I forgot. I use it when you're in my crystal healing. It cleans the auric body. So we have 12 auric bodies. We're more light beings than we are physical beings. So it cleanses it, and it is actually will usually go into an automatic clockwise position. You have one right now?
Yeah, one sec, I'll get it.
It will automatically go clockwise. She's just gonna grab it, and then I'll pull a card, and we'll end it here. Rhodonite. Rhodonite is a self-love one too. Okay, so if you hold your if you hold your fluorite, your fluorite will automatically want to go into a positive circle. It automatically, naturally does.
Even without holding it?
Yeah. See if it will go into that. It's very rare for the fluorite to go into a negative backward spin. So it cleanses the aura, which means that it's going to release anything for them. But on a psychic level, what it's doing is it is trying to help you with guidance that has to do with external forces. And it's actually known as a stone for spiritual geniuses because it will bring profound thoughts and visions. So it's actually really good, and it's very rare for it to go backwards. Rhodonite I was going to do next. So mainly when you use a rhodonite for your guidance as a pendulum, it's going to go in towards relationship-based readings. And the rhodonite will want you to go for that long lifetime union. So it will stimulate that. However, it does clear the heart as well. So it is good. If someone had a breakup, I would probably use the rhodonite. So if my client said, oh, I'm so pissed off at men, I'm never touching them again, which a lot of them do. I'm going to use rhodonite on them. I know some of you, I see you. So rhodonite is one that will help, not just, and you know, these are relationships. Like everybody thinks everyone has a soulmate. You know, life is not like that. You know, we have many soulmates, but I personally believe in it. But I also believe that we're not, you know, it's not something that we have to go to heaven. You know what I mean? So it's about honoring your life, finding your wholeness, seeking your wholeness, manifesting your wholeness, and following your guidance. Now, I talked a lot about things tonight. It would have been more fun if we all had all the charts So I'm going to send you those. I hope you can print them out. And if you can't, you can draw the charts by hand. Some people will print them out and keep them in a book so that they can just do one chart after the other. But play with the charts that I send you, okay? You'll also get an audio of this. Is rainbow the same as the green? No. I mean, they're going to have the same type of energy, but the rainbow fluorite has a different correspondence to the green because it'll also have the added purple and clear to it. So a little different, okay? Let's pull a card before we go. Make a pendulum. Send me your photos. Be creative. Some people will use like cookie cutters, or some people will use, they have those molds now. You can make pendulums out of clay too. Like there's dollar store clay that you can buy. But I love doing these herbal ones. If I know that, you know, my client is single, I might add a little bit of something in there for her, you know. So make a pendulum. There's also great gifts, right? Lots of people have done little workshops on making the pendulums and then using them. They do take an hour to make. So let's do a card on your guidance, your pendulums. How long do they last? I mean, you could make, I've made spirit dolls that I still have, and they're like 10 years old, 20 years old. I mean, hopefully an animal doesn't get to it, right? Because it is just flour, salt, and water and herbs, but they'll last forever. You can even make ornaments out of it and hang it. So we got uncovering treasure for our guidance card. I mean, that fits with the pendulum. And it says, beneath the surface is great bounty. And that's the same with our guidance. Beneath our guidance is hidden, and it is the best treasure we can tap into. So I want you to play with the charts, play with someone you know, get to know a spirit around you, use them for guidance. Don't use them for, because you know, don't use them if they're depressing to you. You want to create, you know, when I call my grandpa, he's here. I know, I can feel it, and then boom, I get his wisdom. So pick a guide that you love, do the chart, see what's around you. If you do that, what spirit is around me, and it tells you there's an angel, go to the next chart, figure out what they want to tell you. So have fun with these charts. Create readings. Some people will create readings for others once you're confident. Create, you know, a 3-chart reading or a 13-chart reading. So right now I have there's 14 charts you're going to get, and you'll be able to get a lot of wisdom with them, and they're fun. And like I said, never be scared. If you're in a place and the energy is intimidating, don't feed into it. Just don't even do the pendulum then. Light, you know, a candle, but you won't be overtaken by anything negative. You're only going to receive positive guidance. The pendulum will show you negative things, but it's not going to be like, you know, something demonic trying to come through, okay? So you can trust that, trust your ability, try to go into a house, see it, how it reacts, right? See how it, I used to check to see how it reacted around people, right? Does my pendulum like this person? You'll see it's going in a positive circle or no, right? And I'll be like, they gotta go. But play with them, have fun with them. And I like feedback and photos, okay? So take care. You'll get your PDF copies tomorrow, as well as this audio and a list of the stones I think you guys wanted, right? So we'll do that, okay?
A list of the herbs too.
Yes, and I'm sorry I took you over, and the herbs, yes. But have a great night, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much.
Many blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Play with your
Bye.
pendulums. Bye-bye.
Night, everyone.